I've been reading speculative fiction during the summer. A reason for that is that you have recommended me to read more books, broader genres. The channel started out as mythology and fantasy, which can be, I suppose, speculative fiction, but you have recommended me Gene Wolfe, Philip K. Dick, Frank Herbert, for example. So the channel has become much broader, and also the followers are now, you are subscribed and who are follow or watching the video usually have a broader background than people had when I started the channel. I'm very happy for that. I want to ask you if you think that the books I will show you, 8 books and 2 video games, by the way, if they fall into the bracket of speculative fiction. I also would like to ask you, what books would you recommend me to read? I am a reader that appreciate the imaginary world and also the what if question. What if this happened? How would reality look like? And I also appreciate the social commentary because I think that's important, that it's just not going to be a story. No, it has to mean something for us. It can be spiritually, which is focus for the channel often, but spirituality has connection to psychology, and that has connections to, let's say, social conditions and sociology. And all these three intertwined makes up a good book if they have a good imaginary story and social commentary and some intriguing question. I think that is very important, of course. If we look at the definition of what speculative fiction is, in a very simple way, of course, we can say that it's a broad umbrella term that has to do with not a real story, not a real world. There is an imaginary twist, but that twist can be more or less. So there are many genres that you can find now in bookstores that fall into this speculative fiction definition. So the genres can be science fiction, it can be fantasy, it can be dystopian stories and utopian stories, of course. We have alternate history, which I will show you one example of, and we have horror and the supernatural, for example. So all these combined with the what if question and with the social commentary makes up speculative fiction. I enjoy this term and definition because it embraces my reading. I have a few things I would like to show you here. And let's start with a video game, actually, to surprise you. But you will not be surprised when you hear that I show you Fallout. The war and the nuclear disaster and the vaults in Fallout tells another historical interpretation of what happened during our modern era, and it made the America in this case totally barren and totally poor. What would happen? How would people live? And society and civilization has been totally erased. What will happen then? I think Fallout is a lot about that. It's a lot about survival. Survival when the world has become broken. What roles do people take and what meaning do they fill their lives with? And the meaning, and like in Fallout, even if you maybe you've watched the TV show, but maybe you've also played the game. The meaning is up to the interpreter and can be very funny and a lot of humor in that. But who knows? Maybe this world we live in is an imaginary world too, even if we think that it's real. Some kind of imagination it is definitely. I have the fantasy book Grimdark, R. Scott Bakker's The Darkness That Comes Before, about a holy war and the people who is caught in the holy war. This is very brutal, It's raises questions about inequality, about treatment of women, especially, I would say, and also power struggles, of course, and religion, and so on faith, on belief. It's put in the fantasy world here by R. Scott Bakker, who is very much into philosophy, by the way. And thank you, by the way. I've been trying to read this for a long time, but now I think I was very convinced here by a follower on my Instagram account with the same name. Um, this is dark, it's fantasy. Can fantasy be speculative fiction? Yes, according to the definition I read for you, it can be. So I think this is a great one. Not all fantasy are speculative fiction. I've read that Lord of the Rings is supposed to be that, but I'm not sure, even though it tells about values. Many compare Lord of the Rings with maybe the First World War especially, but also the Second World War. In that case, it's a social commentary, but that was something that Tolkien didn't like, and he usually opposed that. We have a video game, and this is the last video game. Everything else is books. It's Death Stranding. Many of you know I really enjoy this game, and this is really, I would say, speculative fiction according to the definition. The world has been relying on AI and internet and so on, and then suddenly this goes away. It breaks down for different reasons, and there is also a shadow world where there are BTs. They are called like people living between the living and the dead. I have not decoded everything yet. It's about human connection, because since everything of internet and AI has gone down, this guy Sam, he has to walk around and hand over food and hand over medicine and hand over other things like comic books, if you want to do that, to people, to make them happy, to create relations, to build build roads. You can build roads and so on. So the communications are back again. So this is also a world like it's different from Fallout, but it's not. It's a bit humoristic, but not in the sense like Fallout. But rebuilding a society from scratch, and especially a society where human connection and human relations are gone. What will happen? How would we do, and how would we react? This is Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, reviewed here on the channel. This is about people who this is also a devastated Earth, by the way. Some people have stayed on Earth, some have had the money and intelligence, especially, to leave Earth. I think it's for Mars. And this is a book that is about they're hunting a special AI robot model called Nexus X, but it's difficult for them to know if you are that kind of model or if you are human. If you are a model of this Nexus X, you cannot feel empathy, it's said, but the book centers around what is empathy and also what is human, because there are humans who don't feel empathy too. So it's really about, and it's also been a war here, a disaster which has to do, the people has to leave Earth and some have to stay and so on. So you have the technical development, what if that happened? You have the warlike situation or disaster situation, what if that would happen? Then you had the what if some people were robots, almost like slaves in this book, and some people were not, what would happen to society? So I think this falls into the speculative fiction as well. What do you think? I actually have my dear Malazan Book of the Fallen, which I actually think is speculative fiction, but I'm not sure. I would like to have your help. It's like Bakker, obviously fantasy. It asks so many spiritual and psychological and political questions, I would say. Um, what is an empire? How does empires rule? What is the meaning of life? How do people create meaning? There is so much in this book. I would say it's imaginary. It's in a fantasy world. It's a fantasy world that we can relate to because we've read history. So that is difficult to me to understand if speculative fiction has to be something very relatable, technologically speaking. The um, uh, the author of Handmaid's Tale, for example, she said that it had to be quite near in time so people can really feel that it's possible, the imaginary twist you have. But maybe you can have that still in fantasy because we can imagine the society then, and then we have the imaginary twist on that. So I suppose it's possible. This one I would count into that. A book that is related to the video game Fallout that I showed, and it's very relatable and it's a surprise to me. Also, thank you to one of the followers here on the channel, a Canticle for Leibowitz. I have to read the back on this. After the fall, the rebirth. In the depths of the Utah desert, long after the flame deluge has scoured the earth clean, a monk of the Order of Saint Leibowitz has made a miraculous discovery. Holy relics from the life of the great saints himself, including the blessed blueprint, the sacred shopping list, and the hallowed shrine of the fallout shelter. In a terrifying age of darkness and decay, these artifacts could be the keys to mankind's salvation, but as the mystery at the core of this groundbreaking novel unfolds, it is the search itself for meaning, for truth, for love that offers hope for humanity's rebirth from the ashes. I think this is really much speculative fiction. And the relationship to Fallout is very interesting. I know that the Fallout developers were inspired by this, but also by other things as well. But here it's obvious. We have the Fallout shelters. We have the disaster. We have the sacred shopping list. So let's see what this means. But there's a lot of emphasis on religion here, and there are Latin quotes, and they are quite strongly religious. So I'm looking forward from a spiritual point of view to see where the books can take me. But obviously speculative. What if this happens? Here I have the Cyberpunk. And actually some of my friends, when we talk about Cyberpunk, this is a book, No Coincidence, a novel by Rafał Kosik. Some of the cyberpunk things are a reality today. So we have the AI, we have the huge companies that have a lot of power. We have the political situation, for example, at least in some parts of the world. And we also have the poverty among people. People have to fight to get money, fight for jobs, and sometimes drawn to crime and so on. So, but there is obviously a twist because everything is drawn to, up 500 degrees higher than today, I suppose. It's very much social realism and social commentary if you really look for it in cyberpunk game and cyberpunk literature. And I find that very, very interesting. And as some of you know, I have a short story writing project this summer where I'm going to write 2 short stories, one in Swedish, one in English, about cyberpunk, Scandinavian moosepunk. I have, I think this is a recommendation from you. It's Roadside Picnic, Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. This is about Red Schuhart. He's a stalker, and he has agreed upon to live in the danger zone. It's illegal to be there. He collects mysterious artifacts, and I haven't started to read it yet. I will do. Has been highlighted as a speculative fiction. It's a foreword by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I'm looking forward to read it. And I think this book probably will ask us a lot about important questions about restrictivity about what's legal, what's not, what would happen if we had kind of infectious zone we are living in. So I'm looking forward to that. The last book I have is the Death Stranding. I've already talked about the book, but just wanted to highlight that there are books about Death Stranding too. And I can read the back. Sam Porter Bridges, the legendary porter with the ability to return from the world of the dead, has been entrusted with a critical mission by the President of the United States of America. He must journey across the ravaged landscape, crawling with otherworldly threats to reconnect cities and people and rebuild America one step at a time. So I think all these books fall into the speculative fiction. I've started to read Hyperion, also about a war situation, and about a war situation where some people are listed for a pilgrim group. I've been recommended to read it because of the spiritual commentary. Because of that, I would add it into speculative fiction too. Would you? So I've shown you 2 games, 8 books. You have other books for me to read or games for me to play within this realm. Do you like speculative fiction too? Please tell me. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you later. Bye.